Yes. All right, America. Good.
I play music, so yeah.
Yeah. So I'm a poet. I don't know about what you know about poetry, but there are about 12 people in the world that know what poetry is, and there are about 6 that pretend to like it, and there are like 3 that kind of like it, and there are about 2 that will buy it, and one of them is my mom, and the other one is me. So when you're trying to make a career out of it, I don't know, I wasn't an economics major in college, but that's competing for the economic capital of 2 individuals in the whole world, and one of them is yourself. You're not going to do too sharp. And so a lot of times I'm really insecure to begin with, man. I'm a little girl a little coward, and Holy Spirit's been working on me with that. And it's very difficult to explain to people what I do because it's real stupid. Because not only do I do poetry at hardcore shows. That's a poor career move. But I like hardcore, and God's good. It works. But it doesn't make any sense to most people, and that's okay. There's a dude named Vincent van Gogh. Perhaps you know who he is. I don't know much about him, honestly. But he painted 900 paintings, and he sold 1 in his lifetime. And you would think after 400 or 600, he would have gone to ITT Tech and done a career switch. Because that's pretty freaking ignorant if your whole career you can't even do what you're doing, like, right. Quotes, those are important, right. And I just want to tell you guys, I don't know what you came here for tonight. I don't particularly care. I'm just glad you're here. If you're doing what God has called you to do with all your heart and with all your soul, and you're doing it for Him, then you are successful, even if you can't prove it. You ever need to be reminded, my Facebook's on there, and I'll just tell you. You call me and I'll tell you, I'll come tell you in person. You are successful, and it doesn't matter if you can even prove it to yourself, which is pretty cool, because God's big like that. This is called Move. I hope you like it. It's kind of weird. Starts out with some Native American Indian folks in the Mojave Desert. Interestingly enough, Levi the poet wrote about the Mojave Desert and listening to the chariot in it, so naturally I became obsessed too, because the chariot's cool. Am I feeding back? Dope. Hey, you guys don't understand, I don't get to make cool sounds with things. I don't know which one it is.
It's this one.
Oh, that's okay, I'll use it. I'll start out with some distortion. Cool. The Costo chose thousands of years ago to install a permanent exhibit. 50,000 pieces of rock art now nestle next to craters in a desert where the Navy designs and tests grenade launchers and cruise missiles. Sun-scorched in this viewerless gallery, their thin white lines remind me of a local piano rock band that broke up after 5 starved years of basement shows and vans sleeping. Some performing artists I know, a troupe name, something about a hippo, an elephant, and a train wreck, still tore, living in a tent and beating on their rusted saws and the busted washing machine they got for free if they hauled it. A particular chapbook, the product of a bowler-hatted Hungarian man with a mermaid tattoo who read at the public library on a rainy Tuesday last October, hurtles through my mind, thin and maroon, like a painted arrow towards its target, a clay brown deer, here a metaphor for truth. The man went by 2 initials like Elliot, who's gone down as the man who strung the world together on paper and plagiarism. The very best plumber, heavy equipment operator, salvage crew, Mr. Fix-It we had at the time, but still, we only got fragments on ruins, a laconic visual of the stereotypical view of modern art that still elicits spews and snorts of stupid bunk. Chris, man, leave these people alone. You don't make any sense. From much of the same species that all of it was designed to reach in the first place. Yet, when it hits, when the startling clarity of a white goat scratched on the shady side of a rock formation in the Mojave Six, a 21st century suburban kid in tight jeans and SPF 48 makes him consider time and space and the endeavors of man, how God has gifted such an undeserving species. Then it all comes back to Havel. Please listen, if you hear nothing else, just hear this and you zone me out, that's okay. It all comes back to Havel and the fact that sitting around speculating if an action will have an effect is the only way that it surely won't. One more time. It all comes back to Havel and the fact that sitting around speculating if an action will have an effect
is the only way that it surely won't. Comes back to clenched fists and prayer and working the pavement, back to Molotovs and big pens on the subway cars to the minimum wage that's funding the next revolution, back to not selling nothing till after you're dead, back to barbaric yops, both virtuoso and in drop D, back to trusting God and swinging away through hell and high water and whatever comes next, back to soul. Back to the Tagger Freedom, redoing Goya's the 3rd of May, sans press release, sans artist Q&A, and afternoon lunch and social. Back to the ruler perfect shafts of light. And that abandoned Amtrak tunnel, illuminating the deafening decibels of his pain. Back to the persistence of cement songs, which is the persistence of stone songs, ink songs, lyric songs, the persistence of rising, of spreading, of small sparks that don't know their own size or what the world has to say about their particular potentials, of sparks ignorant of statistics and theories, of sparks without hands to ring or scales to weigh the pros and cons of failing, of sparks that simply burn and burn and burn with all they have. Because they've been created for that alone. Sweet man, thanks.